Hey guys, my name is Kaushik and welcome back to Learn by Test. In this video, we're going to learn what is debugging and how to achieve debugging with Playwright, and also we are going to learn how to find locators using the Playwright. For example, we know that in Chrome DevTools we can find the CSS or the XPath, but there are certain elements or certain locators or finding strategies which are very specific to Playwright. So for example, if I say like get by placeholder or get by link, get by role option, so we won't get that locators in the Chrome DevTools directly. So we have to find those with the help of Playwright Inspector, and Playwright Inspector is also used to do the debugging. When I say debugging, there are two types of debugging basically. One is the flow of your code. For example, let's say that we have this particular main method and we have this Playwright create, we are launching, we are doing navigation, and we are clicking on this my account, and then we are entering our email or password, and we are doing the login and few other steps, right? So if I want to know my flow of my, if I want to know the flow of execution, then probably I can set the debug point in the Eclipse itself. Like here I can just go and double click this particular line number, that will set a debug point. Similarly, I can set my debug point in few other places, and then I can just go and do like step over, resume button, all that we can do, right? So that is one kind of debugging, where we'll also know, like for example, here we are getting the success message and I want to see the success message in real time. Then of course I can debug till here, and then I can get the value, and that will be really easy, right? Another way of doing debugging is basically finding the locators. For example, here you can see like page.getByRole, which is link, and it has a name called this one. So this type of things we cannot find in the Chrome DevTools directly. So for that we are going to use the Playwright Inspector. Playwright Inspector is very easy, but in Java we have to do some additional step. I will teach you that as well. Okay, so let's get started now. So as I said earlier, we have this main method. I'm just going to right click, run as Java application. I'm just going to check whether the code is correct or not. If it's wrong, we'll try to fix it up. Okay, so it's went to the home page and login page, and then it entered the credentials. It's going to change the last name, I guess, and then it will just click on like continue, and that's it, right? But here you can see like the browser got stuck and there is a failure. Okay, so the failure will come after the Playwright timeout, that is 30 seconds. So here if I go to the console, of course we are able to see the exception now after the 30 seconds, right? And it says like Playwright timeout error. Most of these scenarios, as I said in previous videos also, mostly in Playwright we get the timeout error, but if you go to the message, you can see like what is wrong with it. So here we are getting like we are trying to find a placeholder with the value a last name, which is wrong, so that's why the script failed. Now I want to find that, right? Of course I can see like here is a last name, but assume that there are certain elements which we do not know and we have to debug it. So let's go with the basic, the Java debugger, which is like we can use the Eclipse for that. So I'm just going to right click, and already we have a few debug points. So I'm going to right click, right, run as, not run as, we have to do like debug as Java application. Once we do that, Eclipse will suggest us to switch the perspective to the debug. So we can just give switch, and now our view is changed. So here in this left hand side you can see a few of the threads running and all the, right? So you can see like the browser got launched here with the blank page. Now it's stopped in the line number 22. So if I click on the step over, don't use step in will basically go inside your method, and this is not our method, this is the Playwright method, so we might not understand all the code. So I will suggest you go over this step over. I will suggest you to go use the step over. But if you're using something like page object model and you want to see your methods, how it's going to react inside your methods, then you can obviously use the step in. For Playwright default functions, just click on the step over. So here you can see like we have now navigated. Now it's going to find the my account. So you can see like this is the my account locator. So if I go and mouse over on this my account locator, now you can see like it says it's a role which is button and the name is my account, right? So if I go and see, here is the my account, but we are not see anything visually, right? So if I go and do the click action, of course the click action is going to happen, and now it's navigated to the login page, right? So similarly, I'm just going to do it quickly. Step over again, it's going to fill my username, I mean the email address, and again step over, it's going to fill my password, and again step over, it's going to click on the login button, right? So now it's navigated to the another page. So here also we have same thing. So let's go and click on this resume button. Okay, so I'll just quickly go to the next step. Now here is the thing. So this is the line number 38 is the wrong value. We know that because the placeholder here, let me remove this, the placeholder here is last name, but here we have like a last name, which is technically wrong, right? So now if I give step over, let's see what happens. So it's going to the fill function, but of course the locator is not there, so we will end up with an exception. So yeah, that's it, right? So this debugger will not help us much. This debugger will help us to read the Java values. For example, in the line number 44 we have the success message, right? So if I want to see what this message is going to return me as a string, like not a string, of course this is your like your message, the locator. From the locator we are using the assert, right? So in that case, of course, it's going to really help us. Okay, so let's see how to use the Playwright Inspector and how it's going to help us. Okay, so Playwright Inspector is really easy. Just we have to say like, let's say that once I launch the website, I want to bring up my inspector, so I will say like page.pause, and that's it. This will return the Playwright Inspector. So if I go and run this as a Java application, we don't have to do the debug. The Playwright Inspector will do the debug. Okay, so we have to just use like run as Java application. Even if you are using testng, you can just say like run as testng, that should also fine. Now here you can see like we got the Playwright Inspector, but unfortunately this is empty. If you use the same in TypeScript, it will give us all the source code. Of course we can achieve that in Java as well, but not in a straight way. We have to do some modification. I will tell you that, but before that let us understand. So here you can see like we have this record option. If I want to record my test, of course I can do that, but already we have learned the recorder as a video as well, I guess, right? So this is basically the script recording thing, and this is the copy button, this is the your resume button, and this is pause, and this is the step over. So if I click on this step over, you see now it says like get by role option my account, and if you go here you can see in the UI that red color dot is basically where your locator is. So if I click on this, it's going to perform the click action, and then of course it's going to go to the next page where we have like email address. So if you go and see, I have this placeholder by email address, right? Now we can see the visually like in which locator is going to perform the action. So if I click step over, you can see now we are getting the get by placeholder password, and the login is also there, right? So similarly we can see each and every actions. Now it's going to perform the click action, so red dot is there, and also it's highlighting the particular locator. So if I go and click on that, so now here is our problem. So get by placeholder a last name, and we can see like in the page UI we do not have any kind of highlight. That means of course it's a wrong. Now just in case, if I go and change this to L, you can see it, which is correct, and it had identified the correct one, right? Similarly I can go and pick a locator as well. So if I click on this pick locator, and let me drop over here, and you can see it's giving me this particular thing, get by role back. And of course we got the error after 30 seconds because this particular guy is wrong. So this is the beauty of Playwright Inspector, but without seeing the source code it's really tough to judge it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to attach the source code as well. It's going to be very easy actually, but we cannot do like right click run as Java application directly. We have to do for certain things. Okay, so I'm going to change the perspective to Java. So it is like, since we are doing the debug, it's in the debug perspective. Now we are going to switch to the Java perspective. Now if I go to my package explorer, so first of all I'm going to make use of the Maven profile to achieve this. So Maven profile basically works on the SRC main Java, not on your SRC test Java. I'm just going to copy this package and move to the 𝐊𝐶 main Java so that we can use it. And I'm going to delete it from here, so we don't need this anymore. Okay, the same thing here as well. And I'm going to, okay, let it be as it is. Yeah, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the playwright, sorry, not playwright, I'm going to use the pom.xml, and within the pom.xml I'm going to add something called profiles. So here you can see like we already have the dependencies where we have added our playwright dependencies, and then we have the build where we are using the Maven compiler. So if you remember our very first setup video, you might aware of this, right? So after the build I'm going to use something called profiles. Yeah, so after the build I'm going to use something called profiles, and as the name suggests, profiles means of course we can have like multiple profile within that. The one profile that I'm going to use now is your debug profile. So I'm just going to copy this. Do not worry about it, I will leave the link in the description, and of course I will explain as well. Okay, so first of all we have this profile, and within this we have given the name as debug. It can be anything, just a user defined one, so I have named it like debug. And within that we have this build, we have plugins. So similarly you can see here as well we have some build and plugins, right? So we are going to use something called execute Maven plugin, and we are saying like we want to run our Java file which is within this particular package and particular class. Okay, so that's it, very simple, nothing much here. Once you do control save, it will okay, so here we have this one opening of profile and we have to close that. That's why we are getting error. So let me close the profile. Okay, so once you save that, you should not see any error. So that is how you know that it's correct or not. So that's it, we are pretty much done. Now one more thing we have to do, we have to execute this with the help of Maven command. Okay, so if you go to the documentation and if you go to if you go and search for example the Playwright Inspector, and here you can see like we have to do one changes here. So first of all we are going to say which terminal we have to use. So if you have git bash, you can use this particular command. If you are using PowerShell, you have to use this, and if you are going to use the batch, you have to use this. So batch is nothing but your default command prompt. Okay, so within the Eclipse, right click on your project and then you have to say like show local terminal, and here you can see like we have two options. So since I have installed the git bash, I'm getting that. In your case you might see the terminal. Okay, so click on the terminal, and here what we have to do is we have to set this thing. Okay, so first of all set playwright debug and control V won't work, so right click and then use the paste, and here we have to say the Java source. So for example our Java source is basically within the 𝐊𝐶 main, right? So here we will say like /main/java. Okay, that's it, we are pretty much done. Next thing, we have to set the debug as 1. So this pw means playwright debug 1. This is useful because we want to debug, so the timeout will be obviously long. So the default timeout is 30 seconds, so we want to override that. So when we say like debug playwright debug 1, that means it will disable the timeout. Okay, and then I can say like nvm test, that's it. So this will basically run my test now. Which test is going to execute? Of course the test that we specify within the here, right? So here we have said like debugging, right? So that one we will get. And if you go to the console, you can see like first time it will obviously download few of the Maven dependencies, and it says like build success. That's really cool, but I'm going to execute this one more time. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. So mvn test, and then followed by we have to say like we are going to run this particular profile, right? So for that we have to say, where is my terminal? Yeah, -p and then followed by debug. So that particular profile we want to execute. So now you can see it's going to run our test, and the playwright debugger is also there. So here you can see like we got the debugger now, I mean playwright inspector. Along with that we got our source code as well. So if I now click on the step over, you can see clearly like what exactly it's happening. So let me maximize this. Yeah, so now you can see we are in the page.pause. I'm going to click on the step over. So basically it's going to click on the this guy mount my account.click, and you can see the highlight, the very same thing. So I'm just quickly going to step over on most of these steps. And here you can see when I click on this like placeholder a last name dot fill, I'm not able to see any of the highlight. That means of course this is the wrong one, and I know that I want to take this particular locator, right? So what I'll do, I'll just click on this pick a locator. I will drop on this, and here you can select we got this new get placeholder by last name. I'm just going to copy that, and if I go back to my script, and I can just change it here. Okay, I'm going to paste and replace that one. Okay, that's it. Now I'm just going to close my debugger. I'm going to stop the execution as well. You can use Ctrl+C Y to close it, CLS to clear the screen. And then if I go and give the npm test dash debug profile debug, now it's going to again do the debug. Okay, so we have to set the source and the playwright debug equal to 1 only once for a terminal sessions. If you close your terminal entirely, then again you have to set it out. Okay, so let's go and click on this resume, maybe resume. So it will just go without any page.pause. And of course we don't have to go step over always. Wherever the page.pause is there, for example here you can select we have this page.pause, so it just stopped. Now if I go and click on this resume button, so it will just go till it find another page.pause. So if there is another page.pause, it will stop there. So you can consider this to be like your debug point in your Eclipse. Okay, so now we can see we got all the things correctly. Okay, now another particular good thing about the Playwright Inspector is that of course we can find the locator as well. Along with that, if you want to record your test, you can do that as well. Let me show you the demo quickly. So yeah, let me go and load this particular page first. And by default, when we say like page.pause, since we have the debug equal to 1, that means whenever it's launched the browser, that time it will do a first stop, and then if it's find the page.pause, it will do the second stop as well. Okay, and the continuous whenever it find the page.pause. Now let's say that I want to record my script. Okay, I'm just going to do something else. Okay, so I'm going to say like I'm a new customer. I will go and click on this continue, and then I'm going to enter my first name, let's say Rick, and I'm going to click on this continue. I'll be expecting some error. I will click on that. That's it. That's a very basic flow. Okay, now here you can see that we got the example as a class name. We got the main method. We got try with the resource. The playwright create is there, and you can see basically we got the script. So this is my Java script, right? So I mean, yeah, JavaScript. So if you want to change the script, you can just go and use the test runner, which what I recommend to most of the people. And if you want to use the library, Node.js library, you can get that. If you want to get the code in your N unit, the C# thing, of course you can get that. If you want to use your PyTest, of course you can use that. Okay, so that's a very cool thing about the inspector. So once we record, we'll get everything. So let's go with the library, the Java thing, and I can just simply use this copy, and I can probably create a new class, and then probably I can paste it, I can execute it. That's very simple things. You don't have to write much code, you can do that very easily. Okay, so that's the beauty of Playwright Debugger, also the Playwright Inspector. Okay, so I hope you understood the concept of debugging and how to use the Playwright Inspector, how to find the locators, how to continue with the script and do a record as well. Okay, so please remember, this will work only if your files are within the SRC main Java. If it's within the SRC test, it won't work. Okay, and don't forget to add this in your pom.xml, or else you won't able to do the debugging. And of course here within the main class, you have to say your package name and your class name. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you have any queries, feel free to ask me in the comments, and the link of this particular file and all the resource will be in the description. Check it out. Tada, bye bye, take care.